So, Ihor is now back with the Bomber Corporation EA, his newest expert advisor. I'm excited to dive in to see how this one differs from his previous ones and what the reviews have been so far. This video is sponsored by our free Golden Time Bomb Expert Advisor. Take your trading to the next level through automating the London breakout and the opening range breakout. Click the link in the description to download the EA completely for free. So I've always heard nothing but good things about this gentleman. I've actually connected with him over chat in the past, and he seems like a very genuine guy who actually knows how to make good trading bots. The only criticism I've had in the past, they tend to be more indicator heavy, which is a personal thing that I personally don't like to use in my bots, but a lot of people do like to use the style, and provided you develop them properly, they can also be extremely valid. So from what I can see so far, it's a fairly new EA that he's launched just a couple days ago, and he's already published quite a few different signals with not too much history so far, obviously as it's a couple days old. However, the fact that he's publishing signals before they've been populated is actually a really good sign, because it means that he's confident enough in his bots that he knows that he doesn't have to wait to have the perfect signal to show it. He can just set it up, and over time it should perform really well. And in terms of watching this little video here, from what I've learned about the strategy is it appears to be looking for a divergence between the MACD and price action, and that's how he's deciding to enter. And he also mentioned that it's based on his Bomber indicator, and he's effectively building a bot that automates the trading of that indicator. So really interesting to date. Also, there's no martingale, no grid. It simply holds one position, and it's therefore compliant with the various like more regulated style brokers that don't give you that much leverage. So interesting stuff. Also, what I like about his bots is he always kind of preaches a portfolio approach. He does this often in currencies. Personally, I like doing this with indices usually, just because it does give you a lot more diversification. So instead of any one magical EA or one magical trading strategy, developers that typically run this on larger personal accounts will usually encourage people to, or for themselves, run it across multiple different assets, just because it really does smooth out the equity curve. We can see in strategy quant here that he's really stacking a bunch of different pairs together and getting this smoother equity curve here. So I'm not seeing a euro dollar. It appears to be odd CAD. We have euro CAD here. So it's probably more of a mean reversion style system, just looking at the different pairs which are shown. I'm not seeing euro dollar actually. Interesting. Okay. So yeah, definitely he's trying to avoid the trending pair. So I wouldn't be surprised that if it's a mean reversion, more counter trend trade based on MACD divergence, which makes perfect sense. And for these style of indicator systems, they usually are more mean reversion in nature, just because it's much harder to make a price action system which accurately captures mean reversion. So for the style of system, very logical, and nothing too crazy here because it's still fairly new. But if we look at some of the reviews so far, they're very solid. I know some of these gentlemen too, so it's always cool. It's a small community. Some of these guys really know what they're talking about. So if they're saying it's good, that's probably also a very good sign. And yeah, so far from the sales page, it looks really solid. I actually ran a quick backtest here. I ran it on euro dollar, and from what I can now see, apparently it's not one of the assets they trade. So let's try now running it on dollar CAD just to see how it performs. USD CAD, not quite. And while it does that, we can go check out the inputs tab. And he said to run it on the M15, I believe. So we can go up here, back over to experts. Oops. Go. And adding an H1 multi-trade portfolio works in H1 and M15 timeframes. So I imagine that if we're looking for a higher frequency of trades, we probably want to run it on the M15. And this was the euro dollar chart, and as you guys can see, it is clearly running a more mean reversion style system. We have the MACD running down here. Didn't do as well on the dollar CAD, but it's really not trading a lot. It's taking 19 trades. So I venture that like it really requires many different pairs. There are many different assets to be traded at once. Money management settings. There's a few different ways to actually close it. And what he typically does is usually give set files, which give you a bit more information. I didn't see any here, but I imagine that to run it on different pairs, you're running different set files. So yes, it is doing exactly what he says it's doing. It is matching it. Here, I think this is probably just I either have the wrong set file or like 19 trades is just not statistically significant. So let's try running it on Euros, Swiss franc. Why not? That might give us a different idea. But really the idea here from what I can see is you just have to run it on a boatload of pairs. And then some will probably not do amazingly, some will do exceptionally well, but if you combine them all together, you should ideally get a pretty diversified portfolio. I think that seems to be his approach, which I would generally concur with. Because I think his thesis is that if you pick enough pairs, which are generally mean reverting in nature, and we're avoiding any sort of super strong trending assets, we should be able to get relatively good diversified performance out of all of it. And I think that most likely he would share set files, which give a additional level of kind of refinement and make the bots a bit better. So here we're profitable. Once again, 6 trades, so not too many. There's probably something to do with set files here. And from what I can see so far, it's probably an inverted risk reward system with more of a higher win rate. That's usually typical of mean reversion. Usually with trend following, you tend to have lots of small losers and occasionally huge winners. That's what our longbow bots tend to be based on, or not lots of losers, but around a 50% win rate. Whereas once you move over to more mean reversion style systems, you will typically see higher win rates and inverted risk rewards. So what I can see so far looks like a very solid bot. I wouldn't be surprised that people are pleased with this one like his other ones. And overall, curious to see how the signals progress, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's quite good because he's doing the right things like diversified, no crazy grid martingales, telling you to run a portfolio, all very solid things. So yeah, good job and excited to see how it progresses. So guys, take care. Have a wonderful day.